Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You just remain standing for a moment. Reverend William Crothers will give our invocation.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you this evening. We thank you always for the bounty and the blessings that you pour out upon us. We would pray this day for the welfare and the well-being of all individuals. We know there's much cold and flu and things like that going around still. And so we would pray for good health for all. We pray that as the spring begins to finally arrive, that we would be able to get out and enjoy all the blessings of lovely spring days. But now we would ask that you would just have your hand upon this council and this meeting in this city and just pour out your wisdom upon them as they do the business of the city. We thank you now, Lord. We ask the things we do in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Clerk, take the roll, please.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Present.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Councilman Keenan.
Present.
Treasurer Armstrong is asked to be excused, and Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Ask for motion to approve the agenda for March 25th tonight.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Gavarecki, support by Mr. Templin. Are there any additions, corrections, changes?
Just like to interject, Your Honor, that I had sought to have several items put on the agenda once again and was declined.
Mr. Hayes, you know you were told you weren't. You can use your 4 minutes at the end to discuss those items. They
Well,
aren't agenda items.
No, but it's about the matter of the agenda, I think, sir. And I was just commenting so the citizens can understand certain important matters that I felt should come to their attention.
I think you're out of order, and you can put it in your 4 minutes.
I respectfully disagree, but that's fine.
Any other discussion? Ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
No,
Opposed, same sign.
no.
Mr. Hayes has voted no, but the motion is carried. Citizens' comments on the agenda. Before we do that, I've been asked again to read our rules of decorum. Somebody asked about the rules. They are posted on the back, and they do apply to elected officials, appointed officials, commissioners, and the general public. The individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium at the front of the council table or at such other area as designated by the chairperson. Prior to individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address for the record. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes initially on agenda items and 4 minutes at the end in that comment section. All written statements should be given to the city clerk. Written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting. No individual should be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There should be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. And the chairperson shall immediately rule out any person who brings up such issues. The person making the comments is allowed to continue. The person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made again shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For purposes of these rules, as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Members of the public body may question the speakers, but members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statement on the issue raised or discussed by the speaker. Issues may be referred to the appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meeting or proceedings. Any individual fails to comply with these rules, having been first warned by the chairperson to cease such action, shall be ordered by the chair to leave and or be ejected from the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, insofar as you ruled me out of order, presumably in some form of violation of these rules of decorum, may I know precisely which rule of decorum I violated?
You wish to discuss a matter that is not on the agenda, and you were told that it couldn't be put on the agenda, and you can comment as to why it's not on the agenda, but I don't think it is appropriate that it be discussed in an approval of the agenda, just inappropriate for that motion.
Well, you asked for questions on the agenda, and I thought it was wholly appropriate to bring up the fact that several items I had wished to have discussed were not put on the agenda. I can't imagine anything more apropos than asking why certain items cannot be, why the right to know of the public is being infringed.
I have ruled, you chose not to ask for the overrule, and you have the time to comment in any way that you want at the end of our meeting, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you very much.
Citizens' comments at this time, please. See no one coming forward for any of the agenda items to comment. At this point, I would ask Lieutenant Chris Egan to come forward and update us on the CERT program. Lieutenant?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lieutenant Chris Egan from Allen Park Police Department. It's Detective Rolando Hinojosa from Melvindale Police Department. And under the guidance of Allen Park Chief Wilkowitz and Melvindale's Chief Hayes, we're proud to announce that our first Allen Park Melvindale CERT class has graduated. They've went through about 50 hours of training over the last 3 months, met almost every Thursday with a couple snow incidents that were in there. And one of our CERT members is Councilwoman Gurecki, so we wanted to acknowledge her here tonight and give her her certificate. And just to let you all know that they're prepared, that if we were to have a situation where they would need to call on them, we're ready to go. Since 9/11 and plane crashes and blackouts and all those things that can happen, all the way to community events, they've learned a lot of different things, from emergency triage to disaster psychology to first aid to light search and rescue and light fire suppression, all the way to directing traffic for fireworks and street fairs and things like that. So if the people in back would stand up from the CERT team, appreciate it. Part of being on the CERT team is basically first preparing yourself and being able to take care of your family and your neighborhood and then our community. So in that, they've all earned what we call our go bags. And in this, a couple key things, I'll just go over some. The reason why I say that, if you see these people walking around, God forbid if we have a man-made or a natural disaster event, people wearing a yellow and green CERT hat or a green CERT vest, those are people you can go to. They've been trained, they have communications set up with the first responders, and that's really what it's there. They're there to assist the first responders in helping them with keeping people safe and in an orderly fashion. Some of the stuff they have in here is flashlights and masks, goggles, they have a hard hat, tape for mark and triage. And we also have a tool for digging through debris and shutting off water and gas and things like that. So they've gone through an extensive amount of training, but like anything, it needs to be continued on and continued with. And this is just a beginner starter kit, so there's always things that you're going to add to it. Also like to thank Chief LaFond and firefighter Ed Can, who came and taught a couple of our emergency first aid and fire rescue. He did an outstanding job, and we appreciate that. So if you have any questions, free to ask them for you.
Is there any questions from the council? Councilman DiGiulio.
Okay, first of all, I really appreciate what Lieutenant Egan and Detective Hinojosa have done in this CERT program, but I do have a couple of questions. all the people out there, are they the new members, or are they members that have been on?
We had about 15 members that went through this last CERT training. Melvindale had a CERT team. So we have approximately 25 members who are looking for more. I'll have applications at the end of the meeting, as well as you can pick them up at either police station or Clerk Mizzi's office. We're hoping if we have a large, we already have about 4 or 5 more apps. So we're looking at doing another class maybe in June. So if the council decides that they might use them for the street fair, along with Chief Wilkowitz, we'd have a few more members that go through that.
So they're gonna be able to use them like they would have auxiliary police? Would that be kind of the same idea?
It's a little bit of apples and oranges, but there's really nothing that these folks can't do that auxiliary couldn't do. Neither have police powers, so that would be a discussion with the chief. I'm here to speak on CERT.
Okay, and is there any liability towards the people that have become CERT members, or liability towards the city? Will the city stand behind them for whatever they do?
I hope so. Both cities' attorneys have drafted an agreement, and they've signed them. They understand that it's voluntary, that there is no pay associated with it. Some things that have come up is obviously if you have a CPL, you can't carry a firearm while you're an agent of the city working in a situation. So that's all been explained to them, and we've left that to the attorneys to work out all those details.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Egan, and thank you, Detective Hinojosa.
Yes. Councilman Cisco.
Lieutenant Egan, a couple questions here. Is there an age requirement?
We do
Since we have a lot of young people in the audience, it
I
might be.
would love to sign them all up. We do want 18-year-olds because it isn't a decision you have to make. Some of the things, like for instance, we went over disaster psychology and terrorism, and some of those are very adult, mature subjects. Sometimes you're dealing with very unfortunate circumstances. So we do want adults, not that a lot of them wouldn't be able to handle it. That's where our cutoff is now, so.
At 18?
Yes, sir.
And is there, how many classes will happen every year as you do the training?
It really is gonna come down to a demand. They meet monthly, and Detective Hinojosa and I are gonna try and make at least every 3 meetings. Right now, we have some conflicts with, we're both on a negotiator team, and that's the day that they scheduled to meet, so we're gonna have to try and do some workarounds. But we're gonna try and have as many classes as the need is there. So, again, my goal would hopefully to have another one in June, before everybody leaves in July and after school is out, and go from that. So, they've used them at Melvindale's street fair, Melvindale days, where they've been a big help with traffic control and just eyes and ears. And, you know, we've had situations over the last 3 or 4 years that I can think of where we've had people drop with heat stroke or missing kids. You know, so having those extra people that are out there that have that little bit extra training that are willing to step up could be a life and death situation. So I'm hoping we'll be able to utilize them besides for the worst case scenarios.
Just one last question. And the roster that you have, there's no limit on the roster. It's ever expanding.
Well, we'd like to see down the road, if things go well, maybe a downriver CERT team where resources can be pulled together. And Melvindale has what we're calling it our CERT mobile, but it's an ambulance. It's staff that they can make an event. It can be a rallying point. Full of equipment and radios and vests and things like that. They don't do ambulance work, it's just in an old ambulance, and those kind of resources too. So we have a couple people from Allen Park, well, quite a few that joined our team. Some of them are on CERT teams from before and probably could teach Rolando and I a few things about CERT. They're very knowledgeable, they're very dedicated to it. They've had members that have been on there 5, 10, 15 years, so they're very good at what they do. We just combined them and tried to make it better.
Thank you. Great program.
All right? Give this to...
Okay, we've just had nothing but positive experience with the CERT in Melvindale. They have been very, very helpful. So to put everybody at ease, they are definitely going to complement the city of Allen Park and the whole downriver area. They have been great to work with in our city, and we really, really appreciate what they've done for us. And I'm sure that you guys will too.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lieutenant. The communications, item 1, I have, I'd like a consent motion there, if I can, for the 3 permits that are before us tonight. The Mayor Pro Tem Keenan has moved. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Cisco. It's a bottle drive permit for the Gene Reedon Boy Scout Troop to pass out flyers March 29th, pick bottles up April 5th to fund summer camp. $2 fee was paid. Handbill permit by Michael Wilder of Stanley's Advertising and Distribution, $300 fee. Handbill permit by Kevin Brogan of Allen Park Lawns and Snow with a $50 fee. Those are the 3 items. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Carried, same sign. That's carried. The second item, the Allen Park Public Library Reorganization Project. As everyone knows, we did have a work session last night at the library and had a very fine presentation by the chairman of the commission, Cheryl Stan, and by the head librarian, Ms. Blakeney. And do I have a motion?
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Cisco, support by Ms. Gabarecki, and as I understand it from last night, the motion is to recommend to the EM that we have the library reorganization and that the personnel presently with the county become personnel of the Allen Park City. Was that the motion? As we understand it? Is that clear, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, just for clarification purposes, if your motion is including or encompasses the concept of withdrawing from the county and becoming a city-based library, I think that's the motion to recommend that particular course of action.
So it'd have to be the withdrawal of the county as part of that to become the city.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Mr. Cisco, is that acceptable to you, that change in language?
Yes, I was
Mr.
expecting
Gabarecki?
it.
All right, so with the change of language, is there any discussion of the matter?
Maybe, Mr. Mayor, we could ask one of us to explain a little bit about what this means. I know there was a lot of concern. I heard that, well, we're not going to have the benefits of the county anymore. We won't be able to inter-borrow and stuff like that, but that should not change the way we were given to believe last night. We still are a member of the library network.
Of the county
Oh,
and the state?
Cheryl's here?
Yeah, Ms. Stan's
Yeah, Ms.
here.
Stans,
Oh, why don't we have her
I was just
come up
gonna
and
ask her to
explain it?
come forward. I'm
didn't see
looking
her,
for her in
sorry.
the audience and I can't, oh. This is Cheryl Stans, and she is chairman of our library commission, and she was one of the principal speakers, and we have a mic there if you could speak to that. Thank you.
To the question that Mr. Hayes brought up, the library will continue to be part of the library network, which allows us interlibrary privileges with most libraries in southeastern Michigan. And we will continue to be part of the Michigan e-library system, which allows us borrowing privileges with libraries in the outstate areas also. We will continue, the only difference between the current system and that is that we will no longer be paying an administrative fee to Wayne County for the privilege of being a Wayne County library. And our employees, the employees in the library, will no longer be Wayne County employees and part of their bargaining unit.
Does any of the council have any other questions of Ms. Stans?
I guess if I could, Mayor, maybe you could elaborate for the sake of the citizens that weren't there a little bit about, I thought it was one of the points you made yesterday regarding the fact that there was 20 libraries in the Wayne County at one point, and now we're down, and how that affects us percentage-wise as a city.
Initially, when the Wayne County Library System was set up, all the libraries in Wayne County, with the exception of Detroit and Dearborn, were part of the Wayne County Library System. Over the years, going from over 20 libraries, there are currently only 8 libraries left in the Wayne County system. So that means that the cost of the Wayne County administrative fee, rather than being spread amongst 20 libraries, is now down to 8 libraries. Effective July 1st, 2 more libraries will be leaving the system, which means that the administrative fees for Wayne County would then only be shared by 6 libraries. The fee is a sliding scale based on libraries, and since we are one of the larger remaining libraries, we would be going from an 11% share of the county bill to 18% of the county share. And currently, we're paying about $70,000 this year. Next year, it would be over $80,000.
Okay.
Mr. DiGiulio?
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman DiGiulio.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you and your Ms. Stammen and Ms. Myers and Ms. Cook and Ms. Blankney for the presentation you gave us last night. And I think you, from the figures I read here, in the 13 and 14 budget, and well, the 13 and 14, we should come out like $10,000 ahead by leaving Wayne County. Is that correct?
In fiscal 13-14, we are going to lose money because we will still be part of Wayne County. The new budget we had proposed is 14-15, and if we stay in Wayne County, we will be losing over $35,000. If we move to a city library, then we would be $10,000 to good. There's almost a $50,000 savings in the fiscal 14-15 by leaving the Wayne County system.
And 15-16, it shows here like 73,400 we would be losing, correct?
Right.
And we would make $2,500
Right.
by leaving Wayne County.
And that's assuming, we were trying to be conservative on our estimates of taxes, so tax revenue coming in.
You ladies were very thorough last night and enjoyed your presentation.
Mr. Mayor, one thing you might share with our public is the fact that the hours of the library would also expand, correct?
Yes, as part of the requirement of going from a county library to a city library, you are required by the state of Michigan to be recognized as a library to provide over 50 hours, be open over 50 hours. We are currently open about 39 hours on average. We are not open on Fridays. One of the parts of the proposal would be that we would expand the number of hours that the library would be open, including being open on Fridays, which is something we're not doing currently. So we would be expanding that. We'd be also changing the time we open it so that during the school year, the library would be open 54 hours a week rather than the 39 currently.
And you indicate you may open earlier during the day instead of noon.
Yes, we currently open at noon. The plan is to open at 10 a.m. to allow more people who have that, and also, people with small children who want to come in during the day. And one of the things the library does do is offer public internet access for individuals who don't have computers at home, who don't have an internet connection. And by being open earlier in the day, we're able to provide that service for adults who want that access.
Thank you.
Any other comments by council? Ms. Stans, anything else that you want to?
No.
Well, again, thank you, and thank your commission for their presentation and help last night, and Ms. Blakeney, and the economic information was very helpful. Is there any other comments by the council? I'll ask for a vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. We are at that citizens' questions and comments, and we'll limit to 4 minutes.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Ray McGusson, concerned citizen of Allen Park. Number of meetings I came here, Mr. Mayor, a number of times, city council people elected by us citizens to inform us citizens have wanted to go ahead and put things onto the agenda. Every single time, they got turned down. Every time. Mr. Mayor, you are not a strong mayor. You do not have veto power, according to our city charter. I have no idea how things get put on the agenda, but I'll tell you one thing. This agenda that I have in front of me has been amended by the agenda that I was sent on an email. Number 2 was not on there, so it was added. And I'm glad it was added, because that's very important. But you also took a vote on something, or tried to take a vote on something today, without really discussing it, which I don't understand. It was a good thing that one of our concerned council people brought that up in order to go ahead and start to debate that and inform the citizens out here who was not at the meeting yesterday. I was at that meeting yesterday. I try to make all the meetings. So I'm just coming up here to ask for a couple of things. I would like to see a vote by City Council today on old business, or, as Mr. Mizzi brought up a number of meetings ago, unfinished business. I have gone to a number of city council meetings throughout this downriver area. They all have old business, and it's called old business. So I'd like to see that brought up today, and I'd like to see a vote on it. You can vote either yes, or you can either vote no, because us citizens need to be informed. And the only way a lot of us citizens can be informed is by it being put on the agenda and talked about. Mr. Mayor, I do not come here to go ahead and just to complain. I got 80-year-old neighbors that ask me things, and I try to answer and come up here to help them out. Rules of decorum, I'm glad you have them. But they're not to go, you can follow them. They're a guideline, really. That doesn't mean that you just don't answer us because it states that. If that's the way you want to run this city council up here, I'm going to ask for it to be, please try to inform us. Try to answer our questions. If you just want to come here and not answer and just say, hey, are we going to go home? Us citizens do not go. I know you're looking at the time, Mr. Mayor, because you do it every time I get up here. So I'm going to ask you something right now. The concerned citizens that out here like to have answers, and you don't want to answer it, please step down from your office. Please. Thank you very much.
My name is Robert Turner. We had a meeting, a vision meeting in the city about a month ago, first Saturday of the month. And the people, they expressed what they wanted. And part of that, I don't have everything in front of me, but part of that is communication. Communication is transparency. Councilman Hayes has requested things go on the agenda. I'm not sure what those topics were. I don't know who vetoes him wanting to put this information out there. But, you know, are we going to listen to these 100 and some people that came to the vision? Or are we just going to say, well, nah, we're going to do things our way? I'll go back to Raymond. There's the thing that's changing, social media out there. There's information getting out there. And some of them may be correct, they may not be correct. I get a lot of information, but I don't get it here. I get it by going to commission meetings, out in emails. So what Mr. Hayes is saying, give the people information. You know, if it's something you can't talk about, you say, I'm sorry, we can't talk about it. Miss Mayor, you told me to be patient. I don't have patience. I mean, my patience is gone. Again, the citizens want to know what's going on, and we don't know. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Reed, Allen Park. I just want to bring up something to you. I don't know if you, Council, are aware of last week, but I was dismissed from my job as inspector for the city of Allen Park. I would like to take the opportunity to thank you for your time having me work for the city of Allen Park. When I was dismissed, I was told I was not a team player and I was too hard on the contractors during my inspections. But I'm proud of the job that I have done for this city of Allen Park. I follow the state of Michigan codes and the city codes to protect our citizens and our businesses in Allen Park. During my inspections, they deserve to have work performed at their residence and their businesses that is done correctly. I put my heart into this soul, and my soul into this city. It's work. For this, I am not sorry. I did not let anyone jeopardize their lives, their health, or welfare for any performances that I have done in the city of Allen Park. I walk away with my honesty and my integrity. I wish the city well on reorganization, and please keep our citizens and our businesses, owners, well-being at the forefront. Thank you.
Mr. Reed, thank you for your service to the city.
Good evening. Ron Messick, Philomene Avenue. I understand that we do things with budgets in mind and such, and I appreciate the efforts to try to minimize expenses. However, when we changed the service for garbage collection, the new service has begun an annoying habit of flipping trash cans upside down after they've emptied them, well, mostly emptied them, frequently emptying the residual of whatever was once thrown away back on my front lawn. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I respectfully request that when the next opportunity presents itself to discuss the refuse collection, consider the practice, or actually consider preventing the practice of flipping our trash cans upside down unless they are absolutely certain they're empty. And even then, you know, you kind of want the wheels towards the ground. You kind of want the part you're touching to remain as clean as possible. So any consideration would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Al Wojcinski, Vine Avenue. I'm asking this question for myself and Tony Napolitano. Has there been an in-depth audit by an independent firm of the community center? People would like to know, what was in there, what's gone, how much we lost. Another thing, I always ask about the Hill. We talk and talk and talk, and nothing gets done. We get no answers. We're in discussion. That's been going on for over 2 years. And next door, we've got interested people in it. Who are they? Could you tell us who they are? And especially, how much are they interested in paying us? $4, $5, $6 million? Well, cut it. We need to recoup at least $9, $10 million. Don't give the property away, please. And I'm not going to belabor the point, but I will. Why did you, what items did you suppress of Mr. Hayes that he wanted to put on the agenda? I mean, do they have to be on the agenda 3 days, 5 days, a week before? Just a question, because I do not know. Also, where does the city stand in regards to the lawsuit that was filed by Angelo? And why is it still going on and costing us money? It needs to be over. We've wasted enough money on lawyers. Have a good day.
Walt Jordanek, Bel Air Avenue. I apologize for being late today. I worked late. So if I asked something that was already covered, again, I apologize. Mr. Wojcinski just asked, I think, at least 2, if not 3 questions. Are there any answers to that? Any answer to the Mr. DiGiulio lawsuit? Take that as a no. Any answers to the situation on the Hill as far as getting paid for police and fire? Take that as a no. Okay, thank you very much.
Are there any other citizens at this time? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go to council comments, and we'll start this evening with Councilman Cisco.
Thank you, Mayor. Really, I'm a really short meeting tonight, which is very unusual. So everybody that's here gets to go home a little bit early. But as far as some of the things that were asked up here, I guess we'd have to rely on the experts to answer some of those questions. But for some of them, as far as the Hill, you know, I've been a proponent of making that a special assessment district. I still push that. I believe it's possible to happen. There are some hurdles to cross. But at the same time, I believe it also could be used as a negotiating tool. The threat of. And all it does is encompass the Hill, the commercial district. It has nothing to do with any residential area. And I believe we are missing out on that. And some of my estimates have been anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year. And I think that should be taken into consideration since we can't collect, since we're still paying on the brownfield, and those taxes go to pay for the brownfield. But we could put it in a way that the special assessment district could stop once the brownfield's paid off. So there's different ways of doing things, but at this point, everybody should understand that we are under emergency manager rule. And when we voted on the library, that was just everybody saying, yes, we agree. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. That has to come from Ms. Parker. It's not on us. we agree with that, the presentation and what the Library Commission asked. But it's on Ms. Parker. All the financial decisions, all these things that everybody wants to come up here and ask about is on the emergency manager. So maybe everybody needs to take a look at Public Act 436 and read it thoroughly to understand what we can do and what we can't do. And I thank everybody for coming. Thank for all the students coming out. The students lucked out today. You get to go home early. It's not a 2-hour meeting. So good job. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Templin?
I'd like to thank all the men and women that went through the CERT program. Congratulations. I hope we get to put you to some work and not in a bad way. We don't want to see any disasters, but I think it's going to be a good program that's going to help out. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight and their comments. And I am concerned because for 2 years now that we've been sitting here, almost 3 years, and that I've been on the council, is that we work to get away from sitting here and stonewalling everybody with information. When I first started, before the previous council, there was a big push about answering questions. And I really don't have a problem with answering questions if we have the people here that can give the answers. And it'd be nice, even if it is a standard one, that they're still working on negotiating the Hill, or, you know, that we can't talk about other lawsuits or something like that because we can't. Obviously, we can't talk about negotiations with contracts for buying property because that's something that has to be kept quiet. But I'm concerned that we don't give out enough information to the people. I think they deserve it. I have concerns. I don't understand why, if we can't make financial decisions, I can't see why we can't have things on the agenda to have our questions answered or to be able to answer citizens' questions. I understand about not making financial decisions. I get that. But there's no reason why we can't give out information to people. That's what we're here for. If we've got the information that we can pass on, and if we can't pass it on, we should be able to say that. Thanks so much.
Councilman DiGiulio?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pretty appalled that we let Mr. Reitz go. I just found that out tonight. I mean, it seemed like he's been here ever since I've been on council, and it seems like he's been doing a fine job, and I've heard from citizens that he's been out to their home, and he might be a little sharp, but he gets the job done and has them make the changes that need to be done on their fences, as I was told about. And also with Mr. Hayes, I mean, I'm thankful that he got on council. Nobody wants to let him talk. You don't want to let a man talk that knows what he's talking about, number one, is right when he talks. And if he's wrong, he'll certainly tell you he was wrong on it. But I haven't seen Mr. Hayes wrong on very much since I've been on council. The people need to hear the information that Mr. Hayes has to put out. I can't start to give you the information that this man has in his head, his knowledge and his education and everything else. And also, with the visioning, everybody's invited to the visioning. But when it comes to a closed session, only the smartest, most intelligent people in the city are allowed to go into closed session. You ever notice that? Just them. The visioning, everybody's allowed. We bring everybody in. You can come there and get a cup of coffee and maybe get a little cupcake. And matter of fact, I left the visioning right away when I saw what was going on. But one of the lunches was dropped off to be at the barber shop, actually. It had a nice apple in it, and it had a nice cookie and a nice little sandwich. You know, it was quite a lunch the city put on, quite a spread. I hope we start getting those spreads when we go in our closed sessions. I don't believe in closed sessions. I believe the citizens of Allen Park need to know what's going on. They need to put an input. They need to tell us what they think is going on. We're not that smart, all 7 of us. Well, except for Dennis. Anyway, Let's see, yeah, okay. I guess that's about all I have to say tonight. I've probably said enough. Good night and God bless everybody.
Councilwoman Gavareki?
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening and for your comments. I would also like to congratulate the new CERT members, and I look forward to working together with the city of Melvindale in this joint effort. I'm not going to get your titles right, but I would like to also thank Orlando Hinojosa and Chris Egan from Melvindale and Allen Parks Police Department for giving up their time and doing the training for us. So hopefully we'll be able to get a few more members. Let's see. I want to remind everybody, Father Sailor Knights of Columbus is holding their annual Massacholi dinner this weekend, Saturday at their hall from 3 to 8. Dinners are $10 for adults and $5 for children. So there's also carry out, so stop by if you're not doing anything. And also that I have requested just this afternoon, legal affairs for Thursday, April 10th at 6 o'clock to be held over at the Southfield Lease Property. So that will be done. And that is to discuss, I guess, some issues we had with some ordinances that we had both the attorney and the city administrator working on for us. Thank you for coming out, and good night.
Councilman Hayes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just say at the outset, without repeating some of the things that my colleagues have mentioned, I would like to associate myself with Mr. Sisko's remark about the possible assessment. He's been beating this drum ever since we came on to council, and I happen to agree that we probably should have looked into it long before now. And I also agree with Mr. Templin and his comments about the various matters he discussed. I think openness is critical, and I hate to, I don't hold the mayor accountable for the lack of openness, because I think a lot of this stuff, we are under an emergency manager, and she certainly does have powers, but I don't think that power includes violating our right to know what's going on. And I think it's reached a point where we're getting so that we don't know what's going on. And the few things I wanted to put on the agenda tonight had to do with things of public knowledge to you all that you've heard us talk about here before. Things like, what is the status of that missed pension payment of a couple $1 million, $2.5 million, or whatever it was? Is it being added on to the back end of our legacy costs only to compound the problem, but put it out of sight and out of mind for a while? We need an answer to that. What about the matter of overtime? Mr. Diebold asked some very direct questions the last time he was here, and Mrs. Folks, he directed to Mrs. Folks. I would have hoped that Mrs. Folks would have an answer at some point in time. Now, I will say, because give credit where credit's due, overtime has gone down in the fire and police, and that's where I'm focusing. I'm not talking about public services, because that's really inconsequential in the large scope of things. Police and fire has gone down quite well. It's around $6,000 a month now, compared to the $23,000 a month it was, last year. And I wonder if it's not a byproduct of the constant beating of that subject by me and a few others that has caused it to go down. I have yet to have an answer, for example, as to who approves it. We were told that Mrs. Parker would be approving all overtime. I don't know if she does or doesn't. I've asked, I haven't had an answer. I don't know if Ms. Folks has a role in that. We don't know. We ask, we don't get answers. We agreed to a lot of things here, but we can't seem to get answers. I still want to know about the status of the recreation center and the bills. Do we have any liability? I asked for a legal opinion indirectly in my request to have this on the agenda. Are we going to be liable for those substantial utilities that are unpaid? These are questions we all want to know. Who's in charge over there? What's the status of our equipment over there? I write these questions, I get an acknowledgement sometimes saying I got your comments, thank you, we'll refer it on to the proper place or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I understand the heating and air conditioning units are falling apart, belts are broken, bearings are crushed. We got guys out here in the audience who are skilled tradesmen who understand how much these things cost. And I know, I used to run nursing homes. We had all kinds of HVAC equipment up there. When something went out, you had a real issue. Expensive, $1 million perhaps worth of equipment over there that could be on the bubble right now. So these are the kinds of questions, and I don't blame the mayor. I also wanted to ask about the rules of decorum. I think they're unenforceable, unintelligible, and impractical, because they talk about personal lives, not professional lives. So arguably, you could attack somebody's, I could attack Karen's professional performance, because that's not proscribed by the rules of decorum, but I can't attack her personal life. You see the difference? So you have to read these things, and we have to get something that's manageable here. And that's why I made the point. And I apologize, Mr. Mayor, if I got a little untoward there, but I wanted to make the point that what I did was nothing personal, nothing defamatory certainly, nothing that falls within our current rules of decorum. So I hope you understand that I'm trying to get information. I hope that we can see information. Recall that we had a town hall. We didn't get any financial information, really. We got a bunch of back patting and you know, rah-rah Allen Park, but no real evidence of what's going on here from a financial, and that's the reason why she's here. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Well, I too would like to thank the members of the CERT team, the new members and the members that have been on for many years. I know that it's going to be a good addition to Allen Park. I want to thank Lieutenant Egan and Detective Hinojosa for their efforts and training and dedicating a lot of their own time. I know a lot of it is off-duty time and volunteer time on their behalf too. I want to thank Tina for volunteering. I think it's good for somebody up here to be a part of that so that they can get a good feel for what's going on, you know, in that and kind of report back to us. I don't really have a lot to say tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. I guess the only thing I will say is in regards to going into closed session. I think that most of you, especially the adults that have had business transactions, whether it be purchasing a house or whatever, or negotiating any kind of contracts, I think that, you know, common sense would say that you have to be a little bit tight-lipped with some items, because it can certainly come back and haunt you. If you're negotiating something, you certainly don't want the other party to know what your strategy is. And that could be legal items, it could be purchase of property. For instance, you know, I think everybody up here right now knows what the offer is on the property next door. We can't say. I mean, what happens if the offer goes through and we have to relist it, or I mean, it's still listed technically, and then we've let everybody know where we're willing to be. I mean, maybe the economy is going to change and maybe we can get a little bit more money. You know, I think that common sense has to prevail sometimes around here. And some of the items, and I can tell you, in my little over 2 years of being on council, I think that we have some of the best attorneys right now that we've had since I've been on here. And their direction has been invaluable in the short time that they're here. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that they're sharing with us in these closed sessions has to do with negotiations. And like I said, different types of contracts or litigation and what have you. And to do anything other than a closed session and have those negotiations in here in public would just, in my opinion, add undue burden to the city and probably cost us a lot of money in the long run by basically letting, whether it be unions know what our negotiating tactic is, what, you know, how much, you know, what we're willing to give and not to give, you know, property owners, litigation, all that stuff. I mean, I don't think, and I'll just leave it with this, I have not seen a closed session yet, in my opinion, as an elected official that's been an abuse or something that was done in an effort to stifle good communication. I think every closed session I've been in my mind, has been a legitimate closed session based on items that needed to be discussed privately and kept privately. Now, I will say that I am a little ashamed to say that I've seen many emails that have gone out when we were in closed session. We're not allowed to take notes, we're not allowed to do anything, but certainly I've seen emails from citizens that have been sent asking questions about things that were discussed in closed sessions. So certainly we have some people up here that don't honor the rule like it should be and not discuss things. And quite frankly, especially when it comes to the community center, I think may have put us at risk in some situations. You know, if some of our strategy would have gotten out to the people that were running the community center, there certainly could have been money that was taken out of the center itself when we went in and actually changed the locks on the center. You know, so I think we have to be careful, and I've probably said more on it than I want to. Just thanks for coming out tonight.
Clerk Mizzy?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to go over two brief things here. The Friends of the Libraries has two donation centers for used books, one in the clerk's office, one at the community center. And I believe some of the ones that are being collected are going to be used for the used book sale at Allen Park Middle School on May 2nd and May 3rd. So if you have any old used books out there, just bring them into the clerk's office or take them back over to the community center. Also, I want to point out, there's a lot of people talking that because they don't have WOW or Comcast, they can't get the city council meetings. As of right now, I believe the last meeting and this one will be on the city website on a link to YouTube. So if you know anyone who's complaining because they have AT&T or Dish Network or something like that, you can go online and view it in YouTube. So it's right where we keep the agendas and the minutes. So it's all the video, agenda, minutes, all from that meeting, so you could compare them. With that, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
City Administrator Folks?
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just run through a couple of things here. First of all, a reminder, if you've not seen the flyer, that Coffee with a Cop begins April 2nd, 9 to 11. It's at the McDonald's on Allen Road. Second of all, 2 days, 1 day, 2 days from now, you're invited to an Allen Park Strength session. This is about concrete communication. It's Thursday, March 27th from 7 to 8 p.m. There is a guest speaker, and this is about building strong families in a strong community. As long as this winter has been, yes, we're gearing up for spring. So you may have already seen the notice in the paper. I think it's already run once. It will run yet again, and that is our annual public notice about getting the weeds and tall grass cut appropriately. So I just want to remind you that despite the flurries you may have seen this afternoon, spring is here. Next, I want to congratulate all of those individuals that went through that CERT training program. That's no small feat to volunteer to do that and then put forward 50 hours of your own time to prepare to do those actions. I congratulate Lieutenant Egan for helping to provide leadership in the training, and I am quite sure after what we heard with the additional 15 members of the CERT program, this community of Allen Park is just that much safer. Next, we have talked about the visioning event that occurred March 1st. In moving forward, what you will see is keep an eye on our website. Some of the data that we received from the 100 and approximately 30 people that came and participated will be available, or you'll see some of that data on our website as a first step to keep this community informed as to how that information is going to be used in moving forward. Second piece to that is that come April 14th, and I believe it's in the evening beginning at 6 o'clock, there will, now I'm giving you that date right now, and that's what's being planned on. I hope that that's the date that it's going to work out. If not, you'll hear differently from me. But April 14th, task forces around the different subject or topic areas will be formed. And those task forces will be facilitated so that you can take a look at all of the input that was received from the community, and those task forces will take it upon themselves to prioritize, look at the low-hanging fruit and identify those initiatives that can be done fairly quickly and give us some very quick success. Also, some intermediate initiatives and long-term initiatives. If you would like to participate in a task force, we encourage you